This is Let's Talk Teens, a parenting podcast sharing tips on raising amazing teenagers. We are both certified life coaches that have worked with teenagers as coaches, mentors, and teachers. We are sharing what we have found to work best when dealing with teens and tough issues. This is Abbi and Cheree, Let's Talk Teens, episode 79, Letting Your Teens Struggle Without Rescuing.
All right, Abby, this one's a good topic because even though it's so hard to let our teens struggle, it is so important for their development. And I think as parents, we don't want to see them go through the hard. We want to take that away from them. And yet it's that struggle that helps them become their best version of themselves, helps them in the future know how to solve problems. We don't want to take that away. And yet that first instinct is, haven't you just noticed that even as a parent of young kids, like it's just we want to take the struggle away.
Oh, Cheree, I have this vivid memory of I'm young, like I'm probably 16 or 17, and my youngest sis, like my little sister, my only sister, she was just like a beehive or what we used to call a beehive in Young Women's. And I remember watching her give a lesson or teach a talk or give a talk and just watching her kind of, be nervous. And I remember thinking, I wish I could do this. Like, because that is something I've always liked to do. And I was older. And I just remember thinking, if I could take this away from her, I would. And I would teach it myself. But then she became like the most amazing teacher and speaker ever. And that's because you have to start somewhere, right? So when you talk about like rescuing or letting people struggle, I remember like that first time experience going, oh, I wish I could do this instead. Just like let me do it because then they won't have to struggle. Then they won't have to be nervous about this.
Yeah. And it's so just normal to want to take that. And yet that is the development. And it's, all we see that in nature, the need for struggle for, in nature for animals to survive. It's the same thing with us humans. We need that for our development. And it's the best thing for teens to have a little bit of struggle, even though it's just so hard to watch. So let's just talk about like three main reasons why we want to make sure that our teens do have the opportunity to struggle, is even though it feels very painful. And number one is it really does build problem solving skills. It strengthens those muscles, those mental and emotional muscles, and helping them figure out how to solve problems. If it was easy, they wouldn't go through that. So in that problem solving skills, they really learn how to plan and how to make decisions and how to be more persistent. And those are really critical life skills. So it's so important for that to happen. It also really builds and strengthens their prefrontal cortex, which is being developed during teen years. So it really is strengthening those muscles and that brain in letting them struggle.
Mm. And when we can help a teen or youth or even preteen like problem solve, like we are strengthening that ability because I think we just assume people think like me, people use their brain like me, and our teens literally don't have that ability that we do yet, right? And so
Yeah.
when we can help them pre-problem solve and help them like think ahead, that is one huge way we can help them with that cognitive development.
It's so true. And I just think of how good they feel after they solve that problem and they've overcome that, and they've gained some grit and just all the good stuff from that. It really is helpful to them. And that's where we want to go into the second one, which is build emotional resilience. And that's where we get that grit. Like they feel so happy when they've overcome. And I think that's so rewarding in itself. But some of the things in building that emotional resilience and that grit that's so important is that they learn that disappointment, it actually is survivable. They can survive. It's not going to kill them. And I think that's so huge because we all are going to feel disappointed throughout our whole life, you know, whether we're 16 or whether we're 40, whether we're 50, whether we're 80, we're going to feel disappointed. And I think it's so good for their brains at a young age to realize, okay, I'm going to survive this.
I hate that lesson. I hate that lesson
Right?
so much because it does suck and you feel embarrassed and I don't know, you feel like you're floundering. Sometimes I feel like, okay, God, like I'm trying really hard, right? And sometimes it's so good to just remember, oh, everybody feels like this. This is
Hmm.
not a new emotion. This is not an old emotion. Like we all experience this. And I feel like, just like you were saying, the quicker we can get on board with, okay, yeah, sometimes I'm going to be embarrassed. Sometimes I'm going to be seen as a beginner. Sometimes
Hmm.
I'm really like, I'm going to try something and think it's the right thing, and it's not going to be. And that's okay, right? And I feel like we even need that reminder as parents.
Exactly. And that goes right into my next point I want to talk about with this in this second building emotional resilience is mistakes are part of learning. And that's why being a beginner or things not going how we want is actually really good because mistakes teach us. They are one of our best teachers. And I like to look at them as like, you know, in the world of theater, they're like, okay, that was a mistake. We need to do a retake, right? And it's just like, okay, that didn't quite go how we wanted. Let's try that again. And if we kind of looked at that as like mistakes actually just give us a lot of data, a lot of information so we can do it differently. And so they are part of learning. And when our teens understand that, they're like, oh, okay, this builds that resilience that this is part of the process is to fail or to make mistakes. It's how we learn and grow. And then also, I think it's really important in this learning, building emotional resilience and having more grit is learning that effort is what leads to improvement. It's sticking with it. It's not giving up. It's like a little bit, little tiny efforts over and over again go a long way. And that's that compound effect. And talk a lot about, with my clients about how the compound effect of, okay, do you want a penny that doubles every day for 31 days, or do you just want, $5,000? And how that penny that doubles every day, the amount doubles every day for 31 days ends up being a high amount, higher than my mind. I can't
We'll do the
remember what
math.
it
You guys
is.
can do the math and let us know.
Yeah, do the math. Let us know. I have to probably look it up again. But it's really true. It's like those small little things. It's that compound effect make a big difference. And that's that effort, that small effort every day really learn or leads to improvement. And I think that's so important for teens to learn as they struggle a little bit, as it doesn't come easy.
I was just thinking that this weekend I had a chance to talk to some of my friends that have seniors in high school that are graduating.
Hmm.
And what's amazing is they already know where they're going to college. They already have their dorms picked out. Like real life is like coming right down that
Yep.
track. And I love that. One of these moms said, um, because their daughter really loves to cook, and we were talking about how she's such a great cook. And she's like, you know what? I'm worried about her in college because her dorm doesn't have a kitchen. And her college she's going to, the students have to have a meal plan their sophomore year, which is very common. And I love the mom said, you know what? My daughter's gonna hate that. Like she just is the
Mhm.
way she's picky, she's super healthy, she loves to cook her own food. Like she's gonna hate that and struggle with that. And I love that that's where she left it. She was like, well, we'll figure it out. And I was like, that is so neat because she's right. She knows her daughter well enough to know like she is gonna hate that. But also, is it the end of the world? No. Is she gonna figure this out just like all the other sophomores? Like, yes. And is it maybe our first choice? No. We all wish we were in a dorm with our own house and our own kitchen. But like that's an example of like letting your teen struggle, like knowing, hey, they're gonna go to college and struggle with these things. And I'm going to be here on the phone when they're telling me about it, right? I
Yep.
am going to be here to support them, but I'm not saying, well, let's go to a new college or let's go get you a dorm. That's a different thing because we're going to figure it out.
Exactly. Exactly. Oh, I love that. That's such a great example of that. I think third thing we really want to focus on in this struggle that's important is that it really actually builds confidence in our teens. And it helps them like show up for themselves and know that they handled something hard and they figured it out. And it helps them realize that they are more capable than maybe they even realized. I think of a story of when one of my boys was in high school and his really good friend just seemed like everything just came so naturally for him. He didn't struggle a lot in high school, and it seemed like everything just went so well for this young man. But what happened is he never really had the opportunity to build that real confidence of where, gosh, I like things were hard and I figured it out. And this didn't go the way I wanted to. And guess what? I still lived through that. And the pain or the problem wasn't permanent. And so then he gets out into adulthood and things start being hard and he starts to struggle. And what this was interesting to watch that because he didn't have that confidence that he could overcome some of those things, they really affected him for a while. And he's doing great now, but he had to learn that still. He still had to learn that he was going to get through these hard things and that life was a struggle, and it wasn't because he was a failure or he did it wrong. It was just part of building. And so I think the sooner our teenagers can learn that, like, gosh, it's hard and I'm going to figure it out, it really does build their confidence. So when they leave high school, they have more confidence as they, either go on missions or go to college or go into the workforce or, start a trade or date, all these things that are so important where things haven't gone perfectly, where they've had a struggle in all these areas, but it gives them this confidence of like, hey, here's a struggle. I've done this before. I've struggled before and I figured it out and I am capable of overcoming this. And this isn't permanent. This isn't going to permanently harm me is such vital learning for our teens. The sooner the better is what I say. The sooner the better they struggle and learn that they can overcome, the better. And again, that's so hard as a parent to watch that.
Oh, I love one of the young ladies that I work with and coach. She said something that's really stuck with me. She said, there really is joy. Like joy's real. And when she said that during our session, I was like, yeah, okay. Like, yeah, of course joy's real, right? But I have thought about it and thought about it and thought about it that for our youth, and especially I'm kind of speaking more personally, like high school was fun, don't get me wrong, but it was a struggle and it was like an emotional struggle and a mental struggle. And I was taking hard classes and um it just like I thought that reminder was awesome of for our teens, like this is really hard and we can validate that and still remind them that also life is like a struggle and it's really fun and joy is real. And so I just loved that perspective that one of my clients was kind of reminding me that, oh yeah, like high school is not just sunshine and rainbows and that's okay. If you're a teen, if you're like, man, they're not having a great experience in school, obviously we're going to do what we can to make that better. But then we're going to say, well, and guess what? That's kind of life. Like that's how it goes, and that's okay.
It is so true. So, how can you support your kids instead of rescue them in the struggle? Let's just talk about a few things. So, how you can support them is listen. When things are hard for them and they're struggling, just listen versus like rescuing would be fixing the problem. Please do not fix it for them. Let them, show them confidence that like they're going to figure it out, but listen, please listen. You can support them by asking questions. But the rescuing would be like giving them immediate answers and telling them what to do. Oh, don't we just like fall into that? Okay, supporting them is encouraging their effort. Being like, you got this, like just keep with it. I know this is gonna work out for you, or I know effort's gonna make a difference. Instead of like rescuing would be removing the challenge. We don't want to do that. And then allowing the consequences, which can be super uncomfortable, but again, is what teaches them in these challenges, versus rescuing would be protecting them from that discomfort and not having letting them have the consequences. So again, one of the things we just always want to say is like if your teen is really struggling and like support them and don't rescue them. The times that the parents should step in would be physical danger, serious mental health concerns, and bullying or abuse. But be really careful. And the rest of it, um, it really could just be really good learning for them. Really, really good learning.
I love that point that we don't rescue our youth, especially like my big one is like don't rescue them in their schoolwork. Obviously, we want to make sure their class schedule is set to their capabilities and that we're not setting them up to fail by saying, well, you will take all these AP classes, right? But when they're like, Mom, I'm missing all these assignments. I need you to go talk to my teacher. Like saying, well, you can talk to your teacher, like fill me in, but here's her number. Here's how you're gonna do this because we're not gonna take that away from them. And Cheree and I are really big like proprietors of that of like, okay, let them figure that out because they got themselves
Mhm.
into that mess. And this is a perfect mess for a teenager to clean up.
And every time they clean it up or every time they resolve it, it gives their brain evidence that they are capable and that they can overcome and that they are resilient, which gives them more confidence. And that's what we want. We want these teens to be confident now, but we especially want them to be confident going into adulthood. And these struggles are going to make them so much stronger and give them exactly that. Well, thanks for joining us here on episode 79, and we can't wait for you to be with us on the next episode.
Thank you for listening to Let's Talk Teens with Cheree Murdock and Abbi Winslow. If you are looking for more tips to help your teenager, here's where you can find us. You can find Cheree Murdock on Instagram at Cheree Murdock Coaching or on her website, ChereeMurdock.com. You can find me, Abby, on Instagram as Abbi Winslow or on my website, AbbiWinslow.com. Please rate and review our podcast and share with a fellow parent. Thanks for listening.